Okay guys, so today we're going to be building some modular assets just so we can actually get an idea of how they work. A lot of the problems we saw you guys making when you were doing your last levels was that they were basically all built just one giant mesh for an entire level. It can work that way, but it's a lot harder to do it that way. What we're going to do is we're going to actually build it in pieces, so then if you need to change anything, you don't have to just change an entire mesh, you can just add and change the bits and pieces. Think of it like a giant Lego set. What we're going to do is we're going to first of all start off by building our box. So don't make too much notice of that at the minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to center it. Boom. Now you want to try and keep your units for whatever you're using in sort of the same scale. So if you're doing it in 5s or 10s, you want to make sure you're doing it in 5s and 10s. I'm going to do it in 20s, it's a little bit easier. So my length, I'm going to make 20. No, let's make it 40. 60, why not? 60 is a good number. What we're then going to do is change the width, so we're going to change that to maybe 10. So it's a bit thicker, but it fits within our time scale, so it's like half a 20. And our height, we're going to make 60 as well, just so we've got a lovely square for our model, just so it makes it easier to UV. So what we're going to do is we're going to just make sure we can unwrap this first, because this is the most important step. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our front, actually in Max you don't do that, what we're going to do is get to our UV maps, open our UV editor. Right, so we've got this map here which is there, that's also there, and then our side, what we're going to do is we're going to take this front one, flatten map, okay, so that's there. So what we can now do is we can now move that out of the way. We're going to take this back one, flatten map, okay, move that out of the way. And then all of these side pieces, we really do not need to worry about these side pieces. If anything, we're just going to delete them in a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these back to where they're meant to be. So center, so it's 0.5 and 0.5, and the same with this one. Just make sure they're perfectly center in the UV space, and you'll understand why in a minute. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get rid of these edge pieces because we really do not need them because they're going to be covered up. So just going to get rid of all these and just hit delete. So now it seems we've just got two planes. It's probably easier to do it this way, but this keeps the scale perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we have our entire model and we're going to just duplicate it. So in Maya you hold Control D and it will create a duplicate. What you do in Max is you hold Shift and drag. It makes it easier to create a copy. We're going to move that so it's, because our length 60, middle will be 60 there, and we're going to create another one. We're going to make it minus 60. There we go. So now we've got essentially three parts of a wall. What we're going to do is we're going to create a window here. We're going to create a doorway for this one, and we're going to leave this one blank, and you'll see why in a second. So what we can do is we're going to take this. We're going to grab both of the polygons on either side. We're going to extrude them. Now we're going to extrude it to 0. We don't want it to push out any information. We just want to make it create an extra polygon that's attached. We're then going to drop it down, make sure that we're getting everything. So we're going to move it up a little bit, shrink it, move it up. We'll say our window's there. Boom. Just delete them. Now we want to just bridge these two together, and there we have what looks like a window. Now obviously there's no glass or anything in it. It doesn't really matter. It's just an example. Now what we can do just to double check, this is why it's important to unwrap first. We're going to check our UVs and we're going to see that yeah, we haven't unwrapped this middle bit, but if we check our UV editor and we click on this, it should flatten map perfectly. We're going to flatten it again. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to do for these inside bits, because they're not super important, because we're going to, normally we typically cover these up or just put a base material over the top. We just flatten them down. Boom. Now you're going to see why. You're probably thinking, I'm using the entire thing. Why don't I use this little space in the middle? You'll see in a minute why when we get into Unreal, because what this allows us to do is if we want to change textures on the fly, or we want to tile stuff up so it's all perfectly the same size, you want to make sure you're using the whole of the UV range. So it'll make sense in a little minute. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back to this, and if we go to our unwrap again, we're going to see that it's still perfectly square. So if we click on that and we click on the other side, it's going to be fine. What we're going to do, we're going to convert this to a polygon just so we can edit it. We're then going to grab both sides, we're going to extrude again, change the size so it doesn't extrude out, click OK, and we're going to create a doorway. So first things first, we're going to do this. We're going to grab these two edges, we're going to move them down. So they should now be the same. Then we're going to just delete these inner doors. Get rid of these edge pieces in the middle, and then we're going to bridge these insides. So again, take a lot more time than I'm taking. This is just super quick so you guys can see roughly what I'm trying to do. I'm going to bridge them when it lets us bridge. There we go. So that's now a doorway. And then this one we've left blank on purpose. What we're going to do, we're going to go back into this one, check our UVs, and we're going to click on that. Now if we click on a UV editor, flatten, it's going to flatten maps to the side. It's not a massive issue, so what we're going to do is we're going to just rotate it 90 degrees, and the same on the other side. There you go, 90 degrees. Now the insides, we're going to just flatten map these. So material flatten, boom, that's it. That's all we need to do. And then this one we've left blank on purpose. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to do a super quick cut to having a material set up and show you what I mean by this. Okay, so what I've done now is I've just made a very, very simple texture just using a diffuse, a gloss and a bump map for this. Now I've set them as grey for the time being, but you'll see in a minute why we need these kind of maps in. So the reason we've unwrapped them the way we have is because when we apply a texture to it and then we actually turn on materials, it's going to create this. Now, ignore the inside for the time being because we haven't unwrapped that properly, but this is what we kind of want to see. Now if we apply that to there and we apply it to this one as well, you're going to notice it tiles. If we turn off edge faces, it's going to tile perfectly, so it looks like there's no seam. So if we wanted to create an extra doorway, for example, or wanted to create extra walls forever, we just have to simply drag, make sure within the scale, so 120, and there we go. No one would be know otherwise. It looks like a giant mesh, but it's actually made up of several pieces. This is why this is super important. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you now how to make corner pieces. In Max, it's a little bit different to Maya. In Maya, you might have to figure this out using some symmetry tools. There's some good guides online. But for me, it's going to be pretty straightforward. All I have to do is go to the model itself, go to symmetry. What it's going to do is try and copy. It's going to try and copy it across, and that's not what we're going to do. We want to flip it that way. Grab our gizmo and rotate it. So we want to rotate it 45 degrees. What it's going to do is it's going to create this wall segment, even on the inside, that it still remains absolutely fine. Granted, it's copied the textures over, but we can fix that later. So what we're going to do now is we're going to convert that back, go back into our unwrap, and then open this up. That's materials. Open up our UV editor. So what we're going to do is we want to make sure it's the texture map, which is our albedo. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to try and make sure that this actually follows that. It's not just mirroring it. So we're going to make sure this is the correct one. So if we rotate it, it's going to move. So grab the edge. So what we're going to do is we're just going to flatten these again, and then we're going to stretch them up just so we can get them to the right size. So that should, with a little bit of coercion, It's not perfect by any means, but you kind of get what we're on about. So that, if we come off of this now, what you typically do, actually what might be better, is if we grab this, map, flatten map, okay. Grab this one, map, flatten map, okay. Move it to there, grab this edge, stitch to average, and there we go. So it's going to tile. What we're then going to do is we're going to grab these. If it'll allow me. So it's a little squashed, but you generally should get the picture. So if we that should do. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab the inside ones as well. And map, flatten map them. Grab these two inside edges. Not the whole thing, just the inside edge. Stitch to average, and there we go. That's going to stick them together. We're then going to grab the whole thing. Again, you'd spend a lot more time doing this than I am currently. I'm just showing you how to get this so it looks how you do it. So with that, again, that's how we do that. So that way, if we flip this entire model, so if we just convert that to a polygon, and then we rotate it, or we create another copy, rotate it 180 degrees. Cool. We want then want to move this down. Make sure it's in the correct spot. So 60. 120. Again, you want to spend a lot more time than I'm doing with this, but you get a general drift. So now what you can do is you can actually go and start creating buildings out of these. You've got a wall. If you want to split this in half, all you have to do is create another duplicate. You then want to increase the mesh itself. So what we're going to do here is we're going to tessellate, which in max means that we split it in half. And then what we can do is we can just go, oh, well, you know what? I'm just going to separate these. So just detach wherever that is in here. Attach to another object, and there we go. So now we've got another wall. So if you wanted a smaller wall, you could do that, and then you've got two different ones. So if you want to, for whatever reason, change that, it's absolutely fine. Again, this is just super basic, super simple, so you guys can actually have a play around with this and get used to it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get to a set of pre-made stuff already built in Unreal, or this is a package you can get online. I'm going to show you how, with a little bit of time and effort, you can actually make a lot of stuff very, very super quick with this. And rather than using my super quick ones, what we're going to do is we're going to take a set that people spend a bit of time on. I'm going to have a play around with them and take it from there. Okay, so this is the modular setup. So it's an entire village made up of these tiny little bits and pieces. So as you can see, they've got crates of various parts and pieces. There's a couple of doors, there's some benches and some wooden planks, wheels, whole set of walls, building pieces, a lot of roof components, even tiny little ones like windows and ledges, a couple of different trees and a couple of different bushes, and then we also have the prefab, so these are buildings made up of little pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a very quick speed build of just a couple of buildings using the prefab components here, just to show you how easy it is. But as you can see here, you've got two different types of walls. You've got a wall that's just made of plaster and wood, then you've got plaster and wood with a wood slat across it, and then you've got the exact same thing doubled up. Then you've got another one with a window, you've got twice as wide and twice as tall, then with a window, a slightly smaller window, you know, 4 times as wide but only one height segment, you know, perfectly square walls, corner pieces, double height corner pieces. You can see how this starts to become basically like a Lego set. So what we're going to do, as I said, I'm going to just cut the video here. What I'm going to do a very quick speed build of an actual, just a building, just in one of these grey box areas, and I'll show you how simple it is, and that, you know, I'll give you a time of how long it's actually taken me to do this. So that's everything for this video. What I want you guys to do, or your task this week rather, is to just have some fun, play around with making some modular assets inside of Maya, and then try and export them into Unreal. See if you've got your grey boxes from last week, try moving them over the top of that, or if you've not done your grey boxing, do your grey boxing over the top, and then export that back into Maya. Try making some modular assets based around that. Just have fun, play with it. What I want you to do with that as well is I want you to write a blog, just a short blog post. It doesn't have to be something super massive, just a blog post about your experiences with modular assets, whether you think you're going to find them useful in your Synoptic projects, whether they're going to be, easy for you to start creating tools and, start creating levels with. That's it really. Full details will be on Classrooms, and if you get stuck, just give me an email or drop me, message me of some sort, and I'll have a look and see what's going on.